This father would. I'm True Crime Caitlin, and this is the case of Jody Plauche. Before we delve into this case, if you enjoy my videos and you would like to hear them in a longer format, you can tune into my podcast, True Crime with Caitlin, available wherever you stream. Jody was born in 1972, the oldest of 4 children from his parents, Gary and June, and the family all lived together in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Jody was a very energetic young boy who loved everything to do with sports: football, basketball, baseball. He was into all of it, and in part, this is how we got into karate. He began karate lessons, and his instructor was 24-year-old Jeff Doucette, a predator who managed to disguise himself as a charismatic, likeable, trustworthy man. Jeff was able to insert himself into the families of his karate students, and he zoned in on the Plauche family. Eventually, he became a fixture in the family's lives. He would be invited over for tea, he would attend family events and parties, he would even have sleepovers at their house. He was able to groom not just Jody, but the entire family. Jeff would begin to sexually abuse Jody from him being as young as 10 years old. This started by Jeff saying that he was showing Jody how to stretch properly, and that led to full-out assaults. This went on for around about 1.5 years, and initially, Jody didn't even know what Jeff was doing, but he knew that he didn't like it, but he was intimidated. He didn't feel like he could say anything. Jody worried that he would get into trouble if he told any of his parents what was happening to him. That is how much power and control Jeff had managed to instill in young Jody. On the 19th of February 1984, Jeff arrived at the Plauche household, asking June if he could take Jody out with him for a couple of hours while he was running some errands, but also if he could borrow June's car. Seeing no reason why not, June said of course, but only under the condition that Jody would be back home before dark. Jeff agreed, but he had no intentions of bringing Jody back. Unbeknownst to the family, he was about to be appearing in court after he was caught out writing dodgy checks, and so this was him going on the run and taking Jody with him. Over the next week or so, Jeff would drive Jody out of state, actually taking him to the other side of the country. Jeff made a quick pit stop at his own parents' house in Texas before ending up all the way in California, 1,700 miles away. Jeff dyed Jody's hair, him going from a light hair colour to a dark brown hair colour, and he told anyone who asked that they were father and son. And throughout his entire time in captivity with Jeff, Jody would be horrifically assaulted by him. Meanwhile, the Plauche family were absolutely frantic. They were shaken with worry. When Jeff didn't return home with Jody, June waited for a little bit. Maybe they were running a bit late or had lost track of time. She started ringing around their friends and family to see if any of them had seen the two or knew where they were, but they hadn't, and she couldn't exactly go out looking for them because Jeff had taken her car. By that evening, the Plauche family would contact the police to report their son Jody as missing. He had been taken by his karate instructor. 10 days after Jeff kidnapped Jody, the phone inside of the Plauche household began to ring, and when June picked it up and heard the voice of her 11-year-old son, she was overcome with a wave of relief. Jody told his mother that he was in California and that he was safe. They only spoke on the phone for around about a minute before Jeff snatched the phone off Jody and demanded that June, along with her 3 other children, meet them in California the very next day. June obviously agreed to this. She wanted her son back, but Jeff had no idea that this call was tapped. It had been traced by the police, who were racing towards him. Police officers would force entry into a motel in Anaheim, California, where they arrested Jeff Doucette and saved Jody Plauche. Jody was very quickly returned to his family, and Jeff waited behind in California, waiting extradition back to Louisiana. On the 16th of March, Gary, who again is Jody's father, is sat drinking in a bar. He is devastated and riddled with guilt about what had been happening to his son right under his nose, and he had no idea what was happening. While at the bar, Gary gets cracking on to one of his ex-co-workers who he used to work with when he worked within the news reporting industry, and this ex-co-worker told Gary that Jeff was being extradited back to Baton Rouge that very night. Gary would then leave the bar knowing exactly what he was about to do. He walked into an airport armed with a gun. Now, this is before the events of 9/11, and so the security wasn't tight as we know it today. And then he waited. He lingered beside some nearby payphones, waiting for Jeff's arrival. Determined not to get noticed by the police, who, of course, knew who Gary was, he wore a disguise of a large hat and some big sunglasses. At around about 9:30 p.m, Jeff Doucette would arrive at the airport, and as he was kind of walking through it, he would be crowded by tons of news reporters. As he is being escorted out of the gate, he is wearing a cocky smile on his face and his hands are behind his back. As he is walking past the payphones, within a split second, Gary pulls out his gun and shoots Jeff in the head, and Jeff then drops to the ground. Gary would be quickly ambushed by the police officers. One of them was actually a family friend of his who reportedly screamed out to him saying, quote, "Why, Gary? Why?" To which he responded saying, if someone had did it to his kid, they would do it too. Jeff Doucette would die the following morning in hospital. When he was ambushed at the airport, Gary was arrested and taken to jail, where he sat for 3 days before being released to await his trial. He would end up pleading guilty to the charge of manslaughter, where he was handed a sentence of 5 years probation and 300 hours community service. The judge didn't believe that prison would be useful for Gary. It was very clear what his motive was behind this crime and that he wasn't a threat to the public. So, for the murder of his son's abuser, Gary would spend a total of 3 days in jail. Comment down below and let me know if you would do the same. Would you kill for your child? Comment down below and let me know if you would do the same. Would you kill for your child?